What's up guys, Syiler here, and we are back with more Warlords of Draenor content, this time taking a look at stats and itemization changes and also the item Squish coming in Warlords of Draenor. So if you're a little bit confused or you haven't seen it fully explained yet, hopefully this video will help you out and you'll have a better understanding of it all. So first up, we're going to take a look at what's being removed. So hit, expertise, dodge, parry, they're all gone. No more hitting expertise, so no more having to worry about hitting expertise caps and things like that. And I'm okay with that change. Hitting expertise has become more of a burden than a fun stat. It's like, oh, I'll go reforge everything again now because I've just swapped out some hit rating on my gear, so I've got to reforge to get that perfect amount of hit rating. So that's going to be gone. Dodge parry, that is also gone. It's apparently just not really a fun stat for them to play with, so that's no longer on gear. On top of that, reforging is also gone. Reforging was fun while it lasted, but I feel reforging was mainly there to deal with hit and expertise. And now that we don't need to deal with hit and expertise anymore, they're kind of irrelevant. So now you'll be able to just pick up a piece of gear. If it has crit and hit, crit and mastery on it, it's still going to be a DPS increase. It might not be perfect, but it's a DPS increase. If it has mastery haste, it's still a DPS increase. They're all DPS stats. So no more having to worry about getting a piece of gear with too much hit on, and it's just going to go to waste. That is no longer an issue. On top of that, they want to change the way gemming and enchanting works. There's no more metagems. Metagems are gone from the game. And there's also no more sockets, well, socket bonuses I should say. And they're also going to cut down on the amount of sockets that are total. So there's no more having to match like 3 blue sockets with like mastery hit gems. That's no longer an issue. You're just going to get a socket. If you finally get a socket in a piece of gear, and they're going to be rare, then you'll put the gem that's perfect for you and you don't need to worry about messing around. On top of that, they also want less pieces of gear to need enchanting, but more options. So there's going to be a lot more enchants to choose from, but less places to put them. And they want to do this because at the moment, if you get a new piece of gear, say you get a helm, you have to go get the new metagem, and even if you don't have the new metagem, you have to go get an old metagem, then you have to get a gem, and then you have to reforge and transmog. Say if you get a weapon with a gem socket, you have to reforge it, you have to enchant it, you have to gem it, and then you have to transmog it, and it becomes more of a burden to get a piece of gear. Like I get a new piece of gear, especially a helm. I got a heroic helm last week, and it was kind of like, yay. Great, now I have to fork out like 2.5k gold just to replace the metagem. Like it should be an exciting, like, yes, new helm, heroic, awesome. Instead of a, no, please, I just want one helm forever. So that hopefully should make things a bit more fun. So as I said, they're removing the amount of enchants we're going to have, they're removing metagems, removing sockets, well, there won't be as many sockets, and they're also removing socket bonuses. So gearing should be more fun, essentially. On top of that, there's going to be a new stat coming into play called the Tortora Star. So, for example, if you get a heroic warforged weapon, great, cool. The heroic warforged will still exist. It'll have a new name, but it'll still be there. But say 2 weeks down the line, the same weapon drops again, heroic warforged. This time it could have a Tortora stat on it. So, what is a Tortora stat? Basically, it's just a fun stat that they're going to randomly add to gear. It's going to be a low chance to happen, but it could be, for example, movement speed, which will increase your passive movement speed. Or it'll be lifesteal, you'll have a percentage of lifesteal on your weapon, so every time you hit you'll gain like 3% health back from the damage. Or it could be avoidance, you absorb X amount of AoE damage. Or it could be cleave, it'll increase the amount of AoE damage you do, so from like the cleave trinkets you'll do more cleave. Or it could be sturdiness, that weapon will now no longer take durability. Brilliant, sounds good to me. If I die, that weapon will no longer cost me gold to repair. Awesome. So they're just fun stats that make gearing a little bit more fun. So if you are fully geared, you can always get a Tortora stat, which is like, alright, I'll take some free movement speed, or I'll take, and it adds a bit more in depth to gearing and makes the gearing process a little bit longer if you want to get like full Tortora stats. So that's a fun concept, and I like the idea of that, and I'm interested to see what other things they'll introduce to the gear. So next up is the way gear is going to work in the next expansion. Say like a piece of plate drops. That plate piece can now be rolled for by the Ret Paladin, by the Holy Paladin, and by the Blood DK. All 3 people can roll for that one piece of plate. If the Blood DK wins, he'll equip it, it's now a tanking piece. If the Ret Paladin wins, it's now a Ret piece, a DPS piece. And if the Holy Paladin wins, it's now a Holy Paladin piece with Spirit and Intellect. So that means if you're in, say, like a 20-man guild or even a 10-man and you just do normal and heroic, and you get a piece of Holy Gear drop, there's no Holy Paladins in your group. Well, now we're just going to DE it. Piece of gear, we only get 2 pieces, has now gone to waste. Great. Instead of that happening, in the new expansion, if a piece of plate drops, as long as you have a plate wearer in your raid, which is going to be very unlikely that you don't, that's now an upgrade for him. You know, he now has a piece of gear, so it's going to mean less gear goes to waste, which I'm all up for. But it adds another layer to characters as well. So say you've got a full set of gear, if you swap specs from Ret to Holy, that gear that you've got that could, you know, potentially be other pieces will change as well. So that full Ret set I've got is now a full Holy set. So it means you don't have to carry around like 6, you know, sets of gear anymore. You'll obviously have to still have accessories and weapons, but your main pieces like helm, shoulders, chest, legs, those kind of pieces will dynamically change. I'm all down for that. It means I don't have to have like 6 sets of gear and things like that in my bag. But things like accessories like necks will still have set stats. So if a neck drops, it will still have just strength and mastery and stamina. You know, it's not going to be dynamic. It will just have those set stats, and you'll have to roll if you're a melee. Or a healer neck could drop. You know, those kind of things will still be in the game. On top of that as well, tier pieces will work the same as well. So if you have a full set of tier, and you swap specs, those tier pieces will swap to whatever spec you currently are. So if I'm Guardian, they'll be Guardian. If I'm Feral, they'll be Feral. If I'm Boomkin, they'll be Boomkin. They'll dynamically change. So that's awesome. It means you only need 1 set of tier per spec. So, and finally, item squish. And this is what people have been a little bit concerned about. Now, this is something I feel is 100% needed. It's not going to take anything away from the game. It's not going to affect anyone. Basically, say you're doing 1 million burst now. Next expansion, you'll be doing about 10k burst. But don't worry, because you'll still be able to kill things the same amount of time if you were soloing Ulduar now. You'll still be able to solo Ulduar in WoD. If it takes you 10 seconds to kill a rare in MoP, it'll still take you 10 seconds to kill a rare in MoP. Nothing's going to change. All that'll change is the amount of damage you see. Like, the number is just being cut off a little bit. And that's a great thing, not only for us as players, because the numbers are getting obscene. It's so, like, demoralizing, thinking, oh god, that guy's got 500k HP in Arena. There's no more of that. Instead, you know, they're going to have, like, a sensible amount of HP, like 20k. You know, it's going to be, or 30k, it's going to be a lot more dealable. But on top of that, if you'll notice recently, if you're a raider, when you're in a raid, and, you know, it's a crazy AoE fight or whatever, you'll start to lag or you'll notice FPS drop. That's not because of SCADA or recount. It partly is because they're recording the data, but it's mainly because of the numbers that they're having to record. The game wasn't intended to go this high. So it's starting to have actual issues with the game itself, because you're doing 1 million damage. You weren't intended to do 1 million damage. So it is actually causing issues with the game's stability as well. So when that gets reduced, we should see a lot less sort of FPS issues and things like that within raids, especially in 25-man. So that's definitely a welcome change as well. So that is pretty much everything explained. If you do have any more questions, please leave a comment below if I forgot to go through something. And I'll get back to it as soon as possible, answering it and hopefully clearing everything up for you. So thanks for watching, guys. See ya!